vision?
Okay.
What is vision?
Vision.
Vision.
What is vision?
Vision.
So what is vision? And how do you know when you found it? And how do you find it? Lots of good questions. So in this short talk, I want to introduce 3 aspects when it comes to vision development that I feel are really helpful. At least they've been really helpful for me, and I would like to share them with you. And so whether you're just starting out in crafting a vision, or maybe you're at the place you're feeling stuck and you're needing some help to get unstuck, hopefully this talk is helpful in helping you along on your journey. So the 3 aspects I want to introduce and share a few of my stories with you are, firstly, what is vision? It can be a mystifying word. Sometimes it gets kind of over mystified and we need to kind of simplify it and bring it back down and say, okay, what are we talking about when we're talking about vision? Secondly, how do you communicate vision so you have it? How do you share it with others? And thirdly, looking at what are obstacles and how do you overcome those obstacles when it comes to developing and moving forward your vision into reality. And so that's where we're going. I hope it is helpful for you. So let's get into it. First things first, what is vision? I remember for so many years, I thought in my mind, I had a picture of what makes a good vision, and usually it involved it needs to be bigger, it needs to have a bunch of zeros behind the number, so it needs to be big, it needs to be massive and huge and almost impossible and just mega, and that's what characterized a good vision apart from not a good vision. But to break that down a little bit, I've realized that's sometimes not very helpful when you have absurdly large things that are unattainable. How do you release those things into reality? It becomes very challenging and very difficult. So what is vision? I remember for many years in our base here, we have this place, but there was this one element in one of our primary rooms, and we installed the lights. But for so many years, the way in which we turned on and off all the lights in the entire place was through the breaker box. So you'd have to go and flip the switches in the breaker box. And at times they were maybe labeled, but it was always very confusing. There was always a guide. And I remember, for me, every time I'd go in and I'd flip all the switches, just because I couldn't understand the diagram explaining which ones was which, and there were multiple breakers to multiple lights. And that's how it was for all of the lights in our entire space. And so whenever somebody new would come in, or you have a guest or a church renting out the place from us, it was impossible to explain to them how do they turn on and off the lights. It was always easier for me to go do it for them rather than explaining it to them. And I remember a few months ago, we did a little bit of a renovation project and we had a student in with us. And he made the decision, he was an electrician, and as he was changing out the lights, he had a vision of something that the rest of us had become unable to see. And it was such a simple vision, but he saw a future that was not yet reality. And he saw in the future a light switch. Something so simple. But he saw a light switch in the future of the renovation plans in that room. And what did he do? He built in that light switch. And so now half of our lights, because we only changed half of them up until now, they have a light switch. And I remember walking in and realizing, man, he saw something that we all became so accustomed to not having, we became blind to it. We just accepted the reality of a world without a light switch. And then he came along and he says, no, I see a world with a light switch. And he saw that future and he brought it into reality. And I think that's such a beautiful metaphor of what is a vision. Even though that one is very simple, it's a great picture of you can make that as big or as small as possible. But a vision is quite simply seeing something in the future and calling it forth into reality. So what do you see that no one else sees? What problems are you working to solve that no one else is solving? Those are great places to start when it comes to developing a vision. Maybe you're just starting out. Maybe you're somewhere in the middle of your journey Is it clear? Do you know the problem that you're trying to solve? Now that it's a little bit clear as to what are we talking about when it comes to vision, how do we communicate vision? You know, if we have a light switch on the wall, for all of us, it's pretty clear, what does the world look like? What does that room look like when there's a light switch? How's it gonna be? You know, I think it's pretty easy to get other people on board because we understand that. We know the practicalities of a light switch. It's so simple. But what if your vision is a little bit beyond what people can understand? What if it's a reality that doesn't exist? Or maybe it's completely new and we've never seen it before. It just exists within your heart or within your mind or within your dreams. How do we invite others to come along when they cannot see it for themselves? And this is why being able to communicate vision is so key at every part of the way. And so sometimes it is difficult to articulate and explain and describe a future in words. So, you know, a question that I pose is, you know, what does your vision smell like? Don't tell me purely what it looks like, but can you appeal to my other senses as well? Tell me, what does it sound like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? When we're in that future, in that reality, when it's all there, what's it like? Beyond just using words to describe it and articulate to me. You know, I remember we shared a vision with our team last year. And so how we wrote our vision, we did it in a script, we did it in a story form. We did it from the perspective of one of the staff people because we didn't want it just to be Josiah talking. So we said, let's write it into a story. And it ended up taking us a long time. It was about 10 to 15 pages. And so what I did was I didn't want people to read it because when you read something, you become a little bit too analytical. And so we said, we want people to enter into dream mode as we're telling a story of the future. We want them to be able to place themselves into that reality. So we said, okay, let's have somebody read it. Somebody that they don't know, a voice that's just completely neutral to them. And we said, okay, when do we listen to it? We said, oh, we have our morning times, we have our meeting times. We said, no, that's no good. We don't want to suddenly turn our meeting into a time where we're imagining the future. It is never going to work. So what we did was we said, okay, everyone at 9 p.m., all at the same time, we all clicked on Zoom, no video, and we said, okay, get your pajamas on, crawl in bed, get a nice warm drink, dim the lights, and put in your headphones. And the last thing we want all of us to do is to slide into bed right as we're going into dream mode, to listen to the story of the future and just to close our eyes and to imagine. And it was a beautiful time because we weren't in business time, it's in dream time. And that's how we did it. We said, okay, and then the next morning we all showed up. We had transported the entire morning into the future 5 years from now. And we didn't even explain it to them, but everyone just got hold of it and entered into this imagining of the future. And then we actually started playing it out. And we started having people come up and share testimonies. Hey, how's it been the last year for you? Where they had to create stories and create little visions of their own that needed to fit right into it. And it was a beautiful way that we found to help people enter into this new reality that they couldn't yet understand or see yet for themselves, and quite literally have to become part of it. But it helped people to grab hold of beyond just some bullet points and numbers as to what are we talking about when we're looking to the future and how do we want it to be like. So that was just one way in which we did it, but there's so many different ways, but creativity is key. We need to look at all sorts of different ways in which we communicate. What is a vision like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like? And check all of those boxes as we explore communicating vision to others. My last and final thought for us is looking and identifying obstacles when it comes to vision. If you're going somewhere, vision, you have a destination in the future. If you're going on a trip, one of the first things I always do is I bust out Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever, and I plot the course. And I go and I look for traffic and things that are going to slow me down. And we need to do the same thing with vision. We need to identify what are the obstacles that are going to slow us down or prevent us altogether from reaching our destination. And the worst thing to be on any trip is stuck in traffic. For me, I've got little kids. I got one right down here, and they start complaining. They get hungry, they get thirsty, they have to go to the bathroom. And the whole environment and atmosphere of the car turned from this exciting moment of we're going on a trip to just pure terror. It's horrible. And sometimes it can be like that within our teams. It's exciting one moment, but then suddenly when you get stuck, man, it's just no fun, no good for anyone. So hey, let's look at what are those obstacles and just prevent ourselves from getting stuck altogether so we avoid being all stuck in the car with kids that are hungry, thirsty, and needing to go to the bathroom. So for me, I knew for our vision, what we needed to do was we need people who are willing to step out and take risk. And that's a challenging thing, to step out, to risk maybe making mistakes and failing. And I knew that if we have our team is unable to do that, or if we're too hesitant for stepping out, it's gonna really be a roadblock and prevent us from moving into the vision that we have. So what I did, I went to the store and I said, what can we turn into a trophy? And basically we have this ritual that we've instituted. And I found this kitten and I spray painted it gold. It's a trophy and it's a moment where we will look, and from within our own group, we identify, hey, who is taking risk? Who is stepping out? In spite of uncertain outcomes, or we don't know if it's gonna work out, maybe it totally bombed, maybe it went well, but we're not looking at the outcomes, but we're looking at the act of stepping out, of taking risk, because that's the most important thing that we as a team need. And if we lose that, man, it slows us down from releasing our vision. So we said, hey, let's get a trophy, where we take this moment every so often and we look around and everyone in the group starts looking for others taking risk. And then we begin to celebrate that and say, hey, I don't know if it worked out. I don't know if it bombed. That doesn't matter. But what matters is that you're stepping out, and that's what we're celebrating. And that has been a tool that we said, hey, this is going to help us circumvent some of those roadblocks and traffic jams. Wherever you're going, I don't know where your vision is taking you. There are certain to be roadblocks. There are certain to be things that you can say, if we don't overcome that, or if we don't go around that, man, it is going to totally prevent us from getting to where we need to go. In closing, are you able to identify the problem in which you're solving? Are you able to paint a picture and communicate to others the new reality that your vision is in the process of releasing? And are you able to identify the roadblocks and the things that are going to slow you down and prevent your vision from becoming reality? I hope these tips help you process and develop your vision just a little bit further, and that, man, you go far